Welcome to the Casual Adventure Notes podcast, the CAN podcast, lazy, easy listening about little life's adventures
And lessons.
and lessons. I'm Doz.
And I'm Devy.
Welcome to episode 18. All right, let's kick things off with our palate cleanser today. We'll go with our 101 series. What's on top?
101 things I learned in business school. So we actually did make an effort to switch things around. So did you want to choose a number, Doz?
Number 6.
6. All right, let's have a look.
Just flipping through the
Jesus, this is
page.
a long one. All right, so the title of this one is Stocks Represent Ownership. Bonds are IOUs. A stock share is an increment of ownership of a corporation. Owners of common stock elect a board of directors to oversee the company's management and are usually paid a dividend if the company is profitable. Owners of preferred stock typically do not have voting rights but are given preference over common stockholders in the payment of dividends and liquidation. Some preferred stocks carry with them the right to be converted into common stock. A bond does not represent ownership but is used by corporations and governments to borrow money. With secured bonds, the issuer pledges specific assets as collateral in exchange for cash. A mortgage bond is an example. In the event of a bankruptcy, a court-appointed trustee sells the assets and uses the proceeds to repay bondholders. Unsecured bonds or debentures are not backed by collateral. In the event of a bankruptcy, bondholders must compete with other creditors for repayment.
So is that saying that within an organization, you can have stock, which is ownership of the company and the value goes up and down. But if you disappear overnight, the stock was just nothing. You have nothing. But whereas a bond, that you're borrowing money, so you have to pay back regardless.
Yeah. So the bond, like you said, is essentially it's like a loan. So an organization will issue a bond out, and the person who purchased that bond gives the money to the organization, and then the organization has to pay back that amount that's attached to the bond. And in some cases, those bonds are attached to an asset or what the book recalled as collateral. So then in the event, the shizzle hits the fan and, the organization ends up, closing down, then the holder of the bond that is attached to an asset will get to claim and take that asset and essentially use that to, sell off and collect what it's worth and, hopefully pay back what is owed. And then, yes, the shares are a percentage ownership of the company. And as an owner, you get occasionally like a dividend, which is like a payment, assuming the company is, profitable and has money to actually do that payout.
Ooh. Well, not that cool. Just whatever. Business is business.
Kind of business 101 with sort of organization setups,
Hence
etc.
Book title.
Yeah, because I think I learned that it was kind of really 101 in like any sort of finance, commerce degree.
Right.
So maybe because you didn't do, what did you do again?
I did a Bachelor of Media.
Yeah, you would never have come across to that at all.
No, but it reminds me of like you see quotes and stuff online and interviews of like wealthy, like the wealth. And then they always say like the most wealthy people don't spend their own money. And it was like, it's not like they're spending other people's money, but the idea is like the way they organize their wealth is all not by like cash. It's by stuff like shares. And if they're opening a business, they're borrowing money and spending on a credit, blah, blah, blah. And they say that's how the wealth get rich.
Yeah. People don't, well, yes, the idea is that like people that are like wanting to build generational wealth will never sort of just keep their money in the bank and collect interest, no matter, how obviously that's a very safe way to sort of keep an eye out on your money, but they will like invest that money into assets that will either increase in value or generate some income. So, for example, investing in property like a house, you'll get people that will pay you rental income, and then that property obviously over time will hopefully go up in value. Yes, and the other thing about like even if people do have money in the bank and cash, they will still always opt to take a loan out as opposed to using their own money. Because I'm assuming there's something to do with like for tax benefits and purposes. But yes, I've always heard the common saying, rich people don't use their own money to buy stuff. They always use the bank's money.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't have a nice segue to our main course, so I'm just going to dive straight into it. I've had a very wholesome last few weeks because I've been catching up with some friends. The weather's warming up where we are at the moment. So when the weather's nice, like you're more likely to like step out of the house. So I've been seeing a lot of friends, and one of my close circle of friends are from my like youth. So like early 20s, teens and stuff like that. And when I hang out with them, I realized like when I got home and stuff, I'm like, there's something about hanging out with people that you met at that certain age and then kind of like grew up with them that makes you feel young again when you hang out with them. Like, I don't know, it's just like so unserious, which is like a lot of fun. And I find like it's really hard to recreate that with like new people that you meet as you age. Like you won't ever find that same like bond.
Yeah. I think there's obviously an age period where you start becoming like who you are now today, and it's those experiences and the people that were around at the time that you probably feel most connected with because you went through certain major milestones as an adult, whether it's like you're finally learning to be, like your most independent, because that's like when that sort of happens a lot when you're at university, when you start getting a part-time job, start driving, and then obviously going out and socializing. That's probably the other aspect though, is like when you can actually go out and socially hang out with your friends, whether it's at like a bar or a club and stuff. And that's where a lot of those bonding moments sort of happen. And maybe that's why, you feel particularly connected to this group. It's not like you were like drinking in primary school, maybe high school, but
there's a lot of people I find. So I was hanging out with work colleagues the other day, so like very mixed group, and we were like talking about like hanging out with old friends, and we realized like when we went around the circles, I was the only one who like my core group of friends I would consider like people I met during university or college because I was able to go. But the rest of the group, their closest people were people that either went to primary school or high school with. And then we'll kind of like try to dissect it. And we concluded that it's a matter of convenience and then also a bit of luck, because the thing is like the primary school and high schools you tend to go to tends to be around where you live. So like it's a proximity thing. And then the friendships that you make there, if they're good friends, you tend to stay in touch, and it's easy to stay in touch because they're close by, because you all went to school around the same area. Whereas like if you do go off to college or university stuff, sometimes it changes because suddenly like all these people are coming from like everywhere. So you might form a friendship, but you might live on different side of the town and stuff like that. So sometimes it's inconvenient to actually hang out.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one though, because I mean, I would argue that some of my closest friends are the ones that I met at work. But for you, it was university, and then from others, it's like from back in like primary school days. So I don't know. I don't think there's really a
so there is no pattern,
and it's just probably human nature. Sometimes you just like connect with certain people, and then sometimes you don't, and sometimes you don't feel like you meet a certain group of people that you gel with until it happens. Sometimes it might happen early on. Sometimes it happens later on.
that's true because there's a few people I've met in my adult life who I consider my very close friends now that I didn't know back then. But I do find like I'm a lot more childish around like my younger friends who I like was with them during youth. It's just different and I can't really articulate it. It's just something that I notice happens naturally when I'm around that. And then it reminds me of like watching my dad. So my dad has a really close group of friends that he met in college/uni as well. So youth, like early 20s, late teens. And then like they've stayed friends since like forever. Like he's so much older now. It's been decades and decades, right? Like they all have had kids. Their kids have grown up and like moved on. Like they stayed friends for that long and it's the same group. And it's very cute because like they've been around since the start from my life. So I'm always like, oh yeah, like Uncle so-and-so. And then like they just come. Like I see them like twice every year because they do live on different sides of the town. And I noticed that as we got older, they hung out less. But it's really cute because my dad, when he is around them and when I watched him socialize with them, especially when I was older and more aware, he's so different around them in like a unserious, childish, carefree way. And it's just cute. So I was like, oh, like I actually feel the same now because now that it's been like over a decade since I've known some of these people, I realize, oh, I've grown up with these people. And sometimes when I'm around them, I act as stupid as I was a decade ago, but we know, like we still grew together. Like we're navigating adulthood together, but it's just, I don't know, there's something about it. There's someone else I know who dated someone since high school. So they're, I'm not saying that high school relationships don't last, but it's not uncommon for them not to last. Like it's not uncommon for you to grow out of your high school relationship. But this one didn't. So they met in high school and they've been going strong into adulthood. And then they always say, yeah, it's funny because we have our moments where we're so childish together because it's like we did go to school together and we have grown up together. So it's just like, it's special. And she's like, I just don't know. She's like, worst case, if we ever break up and we start dating someone else, like I can't imagine ever like being able to replicate that again.
Well, you can't go back in time, really.
No. Yeah. Which I thought was, I don't know, it's just interesting. I don't know if there's like any like known patterns about it or psychology about it, but it was just, I felt like people say you have an inner child. And I think just hanging out with those group of people brought out my inner child. And that's really like
just means you're very comfortable with them and you can be your true self. I do find like with people sometimes you meet at work, there's always some level of like PC-ness that you kind of have to retain because at the end of the day you still, especially if you have to work with them and your colleagues, it's you kind of have to have that line because particularly if you're like managing them or they're even within your direct team because I don't know there's the boundaries at work and you know things can get very messy. It's kind of like the equivalent of like why people tell you not to date people that you work with because if that doesn't work out then it's kind of like orcs for whatever time and then you might end up having to leave a job that you really enjoy because of that or creates some level of uncomfortableness with other people that know about the relationship and then they take sides and then kind of sounds like some bloody Korean drama, doesn't it?
Not just Korean dramas in general.
Oh, like dating work colleagues. Is that like
and just like the tension.
Like a common storyline?
Oh yeah, and
shows?
just like friendships and stuff breaking up or like choosing sides and then like things just coming apart, which I think is also a like what's the word? Like everyone goes through it in their lives. What's that word? Passage of time? No, what's the word? The rite of passage.
A canon event?
No. What? No.
Canon event. Something you have to just get through and do and pass.
That's not what canon event means.
Isn't it?
When I hear using the word a canon event, that's saying that it's based on the real story or truth. So normally it's like to do with, let's say it's like a fictional show or whatever,
Mm.
And then there's a storyline written, but then now there's a lot of like fan theories or like fan side stories and stuff like that. They're not canon. So they say not canon because it's not part of the main storyline or true to the storylines. So I can only think of anime on the spot, but like with animes, they do filler episodes or they do movie spin-offs of the same world, but they're not canon because they're not based on the true storyline and the true world building. Okay, you're just blowing your nose, so you're not going to respond to me. So that's my definition of canon. And what I was saying, I thought of it in the end. It's the rite of passage. I think I said it right. I don't know. But I was just saying, I think it's not...
That's supposed to be switched on.
What?
That PowerPoint over there.
No, not that left one.
Okay, sorry. I didn't want like this thing to just shut down randomly.
I think it's not uncommon for you to have a lot of friendships growing up and for them to naturally fall apart. Like I think that's literally just life. Because the other thing I was talking about the other day was it's funny how there's milestones moments in your life when you're growing up. You imagine a certain pool of people being the ones who are going to be present for it. So birthdays, weddings, I don't know, other milestone moments. And you just picture like this group of people to always be there. But then like as life goes on, those people that you imagine there aren't there. And it's a different set of people. And then like 10 years later, that would also change. Like if you were to get married, it's like, oh, the guest list from 10 years ago probably wouldn't be the same guest list 10 years later. And I think that's just the passage of life or rite of passage. It's just like people come and go into your life like when you need them or just like things go
Maybe
on.
it sounds like more like it's, like you said, a timing issue. Well, sort of it's the people that are there at the moment of whatever milestone are the ones that you invite to those events.
Yeah.
You know?
I find it really hard. I found it really hard when I realized I was drifting from a lot of people because I'm the girl that makes a pretty proactive effort to like organize things to like stay in touch with people. I'm not saying I put more effort than the other person, but I am like a natural organizer. Like I'm okay with organizing events and I'm pretty good at it. So I generally am the one that initiates things. So I feel sad when I notice like things are like not the same as they used to, or when you like hang around with someone you haven't hung out for a long time and you suddenly lose that ability to have that effortless conversations with them. Like I find that
it's work.
Hard.
Like there has to be some almost like conscious effort to keep the conversation going. Whereas there's some people you just like find that you could talk to them without really even trying. And it's just like constantly spurring onto different topics without really any effort.
Or a comfortable silent. Like that's also, I think, a nice sign when you're both comfortably silent and just doing stuff together.
Maybe not when you're like there to chat, like if you're at like a restaurant or somewhere like a bar. Like I feel like any sort of silence is kind of strange. But like if you're driving together or you're like studying together, then like silence is fine. But I feel like silence, even in general with people, a place where you're supposed to be chatting is just kind of always awkward. I don't think you can really...
Not for the whole time. Like if you're going out for dinner and then you stay silent for the whole time, that might be a little bit weird. But like if you have like moments of it and it's like longer than usual, like sometimes with certain people it's okay.
Maybe that's just me. Because sometimes I like, even in like meetings, for example, like when you're waiting for like everyone to join in, this is like on Teams or, you know, your virtual meetings, like I kind of feel the need to like say something or, you know, do an icebreaker or ask people about like the weekend because it's just kind of strange just sitting there in silence.
Well, someone said small talk is the human way of showing that you're not threatening. Like you're not a threat. So like animals have like certain traits that they do when they interact with each other to be like, hey, I'm not a threat. So humans' traits is turning on small talk to be like, I'm not a threat.
And it's always the same things. And it's sometimes the same topic, even with the same people, that for some reason you have to fill in the void, like talking about the weather or what you did on the weekend, or like if there was some, big sporting or event that happened on the weekend that happened. Yeah. It's always like the same stuff. And you can't really ever go wrong with doing that, even though it's the same stuff. And you're like almost consciously thinking, oh, really, this is the only thing we ever talk about besides like not actual work is the weather.
Yeah. I don't love small talk. I know it's necessary, so I do it here and there. And then there's certain people, even if I'm not the closest to them, like over time, I feel comfortable, and I think they've registered that like we don't need small talk, especially in a work context. So like over Teams or Slack or whatever DM thing that you use at work, like to certain people that I've developed a working relationship with, like now I can just go in and go straight to the point, like ask exactly what I want rather than, hey, how are you? Wait for their reply, wait for them to ask me, then blah, blah, blah. Like I'm like, okay, let's not waste like 3 minutes. Let's just get straight to it. Which I find so much more better in a work context. And then if time permits, or we genuinely are curious, then we'll be like, oh, like how are the kids, blah, 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 blah. Which like, I'm not opposed to it, but I also like don't really care for it as much.
Maybe it depends like what day it is. Like on Monday, that kind of small talk makes sense because it's coming off the weekend. But normally by like Wednesday, kind of like, it's well for me, I just go straight to it. But now I sometimes like deliberately join a meeting 1 minute after it started, so then I can jump straight right into it or avoid small talk.
Oh,
it depends on the person. Like
yeah,
it's people like I definitely know like I'll always just join in, but others where I'm just a bit more of an acquaintance per se. I'll do like the 1 minute plus trick.
My pet peeve at work, I have two things that I don't like, or rules. So not I don't like, some are rules. The thing I don't like is I don't like it when people open with hi, hello, and they don't tell you what they need /want to say. Like they just stop at hi, hello and just wait for you to reply. It's like just follow up with the thing that you want. Like,
well, that makes sense, especially if you've organized the meeting. Like you should. That's the other thing that sometimes when people organize a meeting and then you join in, and then like no one says anything, you're like, okay, like we're just gonna sit here in silence. Obviously, you want something because you've set up this discussion.
Yeah. Make your objectives known. Otherwise, you're just going to annoy everyone in the room and waste their time. The other thing, it's a more rule, especially with virtual meetings becoming a common thing in the professional workplace now. I have a rule where I respect that it's meetings run over, things get in the way, so people come late to meetings.
Yeah.
So my rules now is I stay on for 7 minutes because I think that's a great grace period before I can drop off. 7 minutes, exactly.
7.
So I think 5 is actually too short because I think like if someone coming 5 minutes late, that's actually not a big deal. And I think when it gets to 7 minutes, then and they haven't been able to tell you, then it's like too long. So that's a reasonable time to like drop off and then for them to like reach out to you for you to jump back on if you need to. And then I think if you're staying longer than 7 minutes, that's too long. And then that starts to blur the line of like, hey, man, you're kind of disrespecting people's time.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Is that like a common like allowance? Someone you just came up with that yourself?
Partly myself, but I think there was a group of us that did it at my old work. We just had a common understanding that if it's over 7 minutes, it means that someone either forgot something urgent came up or they're stuck in a meeting they actually can't get out of. Like whatever the reason, they're not coming or they're going to be super late. So
yeah, normally like surely, most people can just like message the group chat for that meeting that's set up and just say, yeah, running late.
Most people do. Also, that's a team specific thing. So I've used a fair few of those chat things. And Teams is the only one where it's like when you create a meeting, it creates a calendar group chat as well.
Okay, all right, that makes sense because I really use Teams. So
in like Google, if you create like a Google Meet, which is like a calendar invite, you can email the group, but you can't start a chat. Or I don't know about these days, but back then you couldn't.
Okay, all right.
So
Well,
it's just a bit different.
Very nifty for Teams as well. And then Teams has that thing where it's like when someone has started the meeting, like you'll get like a notification pop up that someone's joined the meeting. So it's almost like a nice reminder that, oh yeah, this is happening.
Yes, I agree.
I was going to say, to everyone, you probably noticed that we actually sound a little bit nasally, and I can hear it from you, and you probably can hear it from me. So we've just recovered from, I just recovered from what was like probably like the worst flu I've had in a long time. And then just because of proximity, Doz has also caught it. So we're a bit congested and kind of near the tail end of recovery, which is actually really good because being sick really sucks.
That sucks. I think I always blame it on the change in season. Like I think that always causes your body to be like, what the hell's going on? It's warm, it's cold, I don't know what you're doing.
I kind of blame it on the kids because kids are like, particularly like from what I've heard, daycare centers are kind of a festering pool of illnesses, and then kids obviously go home and give it to their parents, and I have like 2 nephews and stuff, so I feel like I definitely might have caught it from them, or like public transport, because in Australia, for example, we don't really tend to wear masks, even like pre-COVID, post-COVID. Well, actually, it's probably a bit more common now if you're sick, but it's not really like what is it called, like a social rule or anything compared to, say, Japan or a lot of Asian countries where
it's not a social rule. It's just more common.
I think it's a social rule, like because if you're
you mean
like
etiquette,
yeah,
it's not a rule.
Well, social rule is not like a law; it's just like common decency.
A rule is like a thing you're supposed to abide.
Well, I'm using it very what's interchangeably with.
Okay.
Yes, what you're saying is
etiquette,
courtesy. Because I've seen like I think when we went to Japan, where I was also sick. God, I feel like I'm always sick all the time, but actually not that much. But I think when I didn't wear a mask, and I think I was like occasionally coughing on the train, and then I was getting a few like breezes and looks. Whereas in Australia, it's like people coughing and sneezing and doing all sorts of stuff constantly on PT, and no one really like says anything or looks, or it's just like whatever.
They shouldn't though. If they're actively coughing, sniffling, or whatever, they should actually make a conscious. First of all, just take the day off and like rest and get better soon if you can, if you're able. But second, just wear a mask or like stay your distance. Don't get others sick. It's annoying. That's the thing about sick days. Taking sick days if you're able to. It's not about you. It's about other people. Just remember that the next time you want to take a sick day, it's actually not about you. The benefit is that you will probably be able to get better, but it's actually about other people. You don't want to go spreading your germs and making your whole team sick.
Well, nowadays you can just technically work from home, so you could still work and be sick.
Depends on the company.
But so you avoid then like the contagion effect. But yes, I agree with you though. You have sick days. Is that legislated? It must be.
It is here.
Yes, so you're entitled to it and to use it. I pretty much took that week off when I was like sick with the flu, like sleeping. What was it, like 16-hour days from all the medication and being so lethargic. So really had actually no capability or capacity to actually work. Actually, I did work for a few hours, and then I went to a meeting, and then after the meeting, I was like, "All right, I'm done. Can't do anymore." And then went back to bed.
Well, that's part of it as well. So yes, I made like a joke / real statement about not spreading germs or whatever. But if you're sick, like even if you don't feel like you're dying, you want to keep blowing into the microphone? Even if you don't feel like you're dying, you should still take the day off because sometimes your body just needs the actual break. Like, I think like people really underrate that the need to actually rest for your body to recover. So if you're forcing yourself to like think critically and like be alert and stuff like that, sometimes you're doing yourself a disservice and could potentially make it worse.
Yeah. Well, I'm like blowing my nose and coughing, but we are doing a podcast. But this is casual, easy listening, so it should really not be too much work. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, you just said like, you know, like you take the day off if you're like sick. I'm just saying, like, I'm still in the recovery phase, but still doing this podcast. But mostly because I really enjoy this, and it's like I said, casual, easy listening. So it really is mindless. What do you call it? Work? Mindless, chatting.
This is our hobby.
Yeah.
Also, we did take last week off, so.
Oh yeah, that's true. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, imagine we filmed last week. That would have been like.
This is an attempted weekly thing, but it's not really weekly. It's probably more fortnightly, give or take, depending on the week. It's just like whenever we have time and energy and something to chatter away and yap away about. Speaking about relationship, I don't know if I already mentioned this on the podcast. I feel like I told everyone this, so I apologize if I've already said it. But I saw this TikTok of a bridesmaid giving a wedding speech, and her speech is so beautiful. She says to the groom, "We hope you enjoy growing old with her as much." I'll try again.
I can't help it.
She goes to the groom, "I hope you enjoy growing old with her as much as we loved growing up with her." And I think it's just the most beautiful line ever.
Yeah. I mean, there are obviously very bad speeches I've seen in a few weddings I have attended. But yeah, that's actually a nice one. It was a very nice summation.
It was not. It had so many likes because it's just the perfect thing to say. And there's just something really nice about that. Like it's now a shared experience and being like, hey, we both love this person. Like, let's continue to like make sure they have the best lives. Which I think is so cute.
I love how like weddings now are becoming more, what's it, elaborate, but like there's more creativity from, I mean, maybe this is again the stuff that I only see on like social media, but I feel like there's a lot more conscious effort to make it, have a creative element, whether it's like the groomsmen doing like a coordinated like dance or something, or using like non-traditional like music to like enter. So you kind of think about like weddings in the last 20, 30 years, it's all been like kind of the same sort of tunes that the bride walks down to, or the groom comes out to. But now it's like a bit more more modern and like almost more pop culture-y. Like I think I saw a video of bridesmaids and a bride and the groom coming out to the the song that Lizzie McGuire sung in the movie.
Hey now, hey now.
Yeah, What Dreams Are Made Of. Yeah. That was their song that they decided to play versus, the Here Comes the Bride, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how that goes anyway, but yeah.
I don't know if it's changed. I guess it is a little bit more upbeat and casual. It also depends on what country you're from, because certain countries, the wedding ceremony differs as well.
But even like, because I know we talked about like Vietnamese weddings and tea ceremonies, like they've become like, I've seen a couple where people have done really sort of more modern takes of it.
That's true.
And like, like the whole sort of aspect around like the groom trying to enter into the bride's house to like take her away, or not take her away, but like swoon her into marrying him. Like and they would have to like appease the bridesmaids. And it used to be like, oh yeah, here's like a couple of platters of food and gifts. But now it's like you have to like do a series of games and tests, like, you know,
Fun.
not Hunger Game style, but I've seen one where like they what they do, like they make like all the guys wear like attach like this tissue box that has like ping pong balls, and they have to like twerk all the balls out.
Oh yeah, I know that game.
Or they make all the guys do the what's the one where they had to like suck on a card and then pass it around to each other? What is it called?
Oh, that's like a drinking game as well.
What is it? Suck and blow, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the game is, do you want to explain the game for people who don't know?
So it's a game where essentially like you're kind of sitting around in a circle, and then you put like a card. You have to try to like suck it to kind of retain on your lips, and then you sort of pass on to the next person, and then they suck it from your lips. So the card is sort of separating your lips from each other. But obviously, you know, if you're not sucking hard enough, or you haven't got the angle right, it might fall, and you might end up accidentally kissing that person instead, or dropping it beforehand. So it's really funny, obviously, because it's just a bunch of like, you know, very you know, straight guys having to play this game. And then I think there's a very specific method, because I'm actually really bad at it, but you know, if you don't sort of do it right, you're gonna end up having to lock in lips with a lot of your bros. But yeah, those sort of games. And it's kind of funny because they do it like in front of like all the old uncles and aunties. And then they're like probably like sitting in the side like, what is this? We never did this when we got married. Like, is this like the new thing now where all you guys like have to play these weird like games?
Different generations.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit of fun, actually.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's making it, it's just fun. I mean, at the end of the day, a wedding is a celebration between two people. So, yeah, a wedding is a celebration between two people. So why wouldn't you turn it into a party if you're able? But that's cool.
Yeah, because like, I mean, weddings in a lot of cases, you know, particularly the you know, specifics to families and culture. Sometimes it's about like doing what the parentals and what your family wants more than probably what you as the couple want. Even though the day is about you, you know, you're doing things to appease, you know, your family, which is, you know, fair enough because you want to make your parents happy. But yeah, it's nice to see a bit of, you know, fun and, you know, new traditions essentially being introduced. You know, who knows, maybe it'll become the norm, and then there'll be even like more extreme things that are done like in another decade or two.
Yeah, I don't necessarily appreciate the pressures or stresses that comes with like making obligational decisions or invites to your wedding on behalf of your parents. Like, I think there's an outlier of it where it's like respectful to like allow them to have an opinion and stuff like that. But I find it difficult to accept to like do something for someone else, especially when the wedding is about, what was I trying to say? Well, I don't know where my thought was going. Where the wedding isn't about them, it's about you, and it's your money. It's your money. I think like where it maybe differed in the past was like parents would pay for a lot of weddings, so I like that's fair. They're paying for something, so they should have a stronger opinion. But I think like times have changed, and a lot of people are paying for their own money. And there's this thing in Asian culture, like you're more. For your wedding gifts, you get red pockets, which we spoke about in the past, which means that you're more likely to get money as your wedding gift and not things. And then there used to be a joke in the past, like the best way to make money is have an Asian wedding because you'll probably like turn a profit. Like that was a joke. But that's not the case anymore. The economy has changed and you will 100% make a loss. Like weddings are way expensive now and people probably aren't as generation, not intentionally as they used to be. So people are spending a lot of money because they want to host like their celebration. So it should be the way they want it. So I like it that all these like little fun things are being introduced. I think it's good. It's making it their own again. People are getting better at this generation and the generations coming are getting better at like taking back their lives. I think it's like always a level of like, yes, you should respect your elders and your parents and all that stuff like that. But there was a thing I watched once. This girl articulated it really well. She said, it's like revolves around generational trauma, where she said, yeah, my parents gave me a lot of like pressure and tried to like sway me into certain like career choices and stuff like that. And they gave up a lot for me so that I could like do things, and they were always trying to push me in what they perceived was a safe career and stuff like that. And then she said, but it's really funny because I almost wish they didn't. I wish they didn't sacrifice so much. I understand why they needed to because they were like immigrant parents and stuff like that. But because they sacrificed so much, they started putting so much pressure and stress on me to follow what they thought was right instead of ever taking notice about what I wanted to do or what I could do.
Yes.
Okay, I have a feeling you were ignoring me.
No, it wasn't. I'm just it's like this awkward phase of congestion, and I'm like, do I need to sneeze or not? So I was like in that sort of mindset, like, oh, if I need to sneeze, I need to like be away from this microphone, otherwise everyone's gonna hear this loud at you. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay. We could probably wrap up anyways. It's been a little hot minute. So we'll move on to our dessert, which is our gratitude of the week. So it is an intentional dessert of the week is an intentional moment that we choose to proactively appreciate the sweet moments of our lives, whether it recently happened or something we just thought of or something that we remember. Is there anything that you want to be grateful for or show appreciation for?
What? Two things actually. One was obviously being sick. Obviously being sick last week. I was actually very appreciative of doctors, medicine, the like, because I honestly did not want to have to live through being sick for longer than I had to. So, yes, very appreciative for modern Western medicine and its cures. And the other is my Korean hairdresser, actually. So I actually got a haircut. It's been a while. And I actually really like her because she's very, she's kind of like brutally honest. So like sometimes I think when I was like doing my hair and trying to think of new styles, when I used to have the classic sort of, Asian shaved sides and, lit the top. And I remember showing her a few inspirational pictures and she's like, no, this doesn't work for your face. And so she just did her thing, and I trusted her, and I actually have really enjoyed the hairstyles, and so I've been going back to her for the last sort of a year or two, and so I very appreciate that that you have that sort of person in your life that is honest on what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, it's actually not a good thing if you're surrounded by yes men. Like, it's a lot better to have people who can actually tell it to you straight. And I agree. I think a good hairdresser you go back to or you travel for because they know what they're doing. Like, it makes such a difference. So it's not like a salon, it's a hairdresser. It's who works.
Yeah, hair's like, for guys, hair is very important. Like, I kind of hear a lot on TikTok where they say hair is essentially a guy's makeup. So you really want to make like the right choice. And then it's actually very much like maybe it's been called like a science behind it, where certain hairstyles really suit someone based on their face shape, where their hairline starts, and even to like their what's it called again? The like even like just the features of their face as well. So there's a whole sort of what do you call like methodology to like find the optimal haircut.
What if they're bold? I insult everyone who wants to shave their hair and not want to have hair.
If you're bald, maybe it's some people actually can pull off the bald buzz cut look. I think you have to have a very sort of strong, chiseled sort of facial features, and then that actually does sort of go well. That's not for me though. But you know, if you don't have those features, then maybe it's sort of a wig. And wigs are actually really quite become sort of quite nice looking these days. Like I kind of saw quite a few where I was like, they actually look pretty realistic and pretty nice. Anyway.
I think wigs are itchy if you have to wear them for a long time.
No, I think like the new ones now are like, they're like almost just like an attachment. Like you wouldn't even realize you're wearing it. And it looks so real. But maybe I've just been targeted. I don't know why I've been targeted with wigs because I actually have hair. But yeah, anyway, I must have like watched a clip and then it got impressed. And then next minute, like the algorithm on TikTok was like, all right, we'll just keep feeding you like wig related videos.
Yeah. I'm grateful for organized lines. So when there is a well-kept, organized like line when you're lining up for something, I am so grateful for, because and when I say well organized, I mean like it's very clear where it starts and ends. It's moving, like just all the things. It's like crowd managed, so there's like too many people. It's been designed in a way not to interrupt other things around it. And the reason I say that is because that noise was because David was flicking the microphone.
Sorry, I was just cleaning some fluff off of it. I didn't realize that would go through the microphone.
And the reason I'm grateful for that is because there's still a lot of places where there's not an organized line, and it gives me so much stress. Like when you're ordering food and if there's no clear line and you're just literally shouting your order, I know that sometimes that's the vibe of the restaurant, but I just cannot. Like it stresses me out. So I really am grateful for organized lines. Ugh.
Yeah, I can appreciate that too. Because then you like can get triggered when like certain people push in and you're like, or yeah, people that have been waiting there like get served later on. It's always very stressful. Always up for lines if you're a restaurant or business. Like just have some structure or a nice little, what are those things called? Where it's like those poles with those straps.
Mm.
I can't remember what they're called, but those things are like.
I don't even think I know what the names of those are.
It's like
bollards.
No, bollards is a bit more like a giant boulder.
I don't know.
This is called a pole strap thingy.
Okay, cool. All right, meal preps, goals or things we're looking forward to in the future, near or far.
Mine's easy. I just can't wait to like not be congested because it actually just is such a pain like with sleeping and even talking because you can just feel it all like coming up and you're like, all right, I'm like gonna start getting nasally. So I am looking forward to not being sick at the next podcast and having clear sinuses because, you know, you kind of don't realize how comfortable it is to not have a blocked nose and congestion. So yeah.
So good. I don't have a goal that I can think of on the top of my head, but something I'm looking forward to is there's a musical. It's called Six, S-I-X, the musical, that is playing at the moment. I think it's out for one more month that I'm going to go see, and I'm really excited to see it. Let me read you the synopsis in case you are interested in looking it up or going. Musical synopsis. I could try to explain it, but I just know I would get it wrong, so I didn't want to. All right. Six the Musical is a modern retelling of the lives of the 6 wives of King Henry VIII, presented as a pop concert. Each wife takes turns singing about her marriage to Henry, competing to determine who suffered the most. The show mixes history, facts, and humor with catchy pop music. It sounds good. It sounds like it would be a good time, and it's funny. And I've seen the costumes, and it just looks like a good time. So, looking forward to that. It'll be good.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We thank you for taking your time and listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Peace. See ya.